Coming up on Nightcast, thousands at the Knicks celebrate tonight as they find out Billy Graham will make it to part of his crusade.
Plus, it may be the season to do some painting around the house, but health officials have some warnings.
Weather-wise, a nice change moving in tonight, and it's time to read the newspapers.
It was a busy day at Wrigley Field today on the eve of the Major League All-Star Game. You'll see the highlights.
And some who are racing 1,800 miles hope the clouds don't get in the way.
That and much more on Nightcast, just ahead.
TV 10 is right at home with you.
This is 10 Eyewitness News Nightcast.
Dr. Billy Graham will be coming to Albany to minister in the crusade meetings.
Enthusiastic Billy Graham followers cheer as they hear the evangelist will make it to Albany.
And they're even more excited to hear that he will be preaching. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's the announcement many people have been waiting to hear for several months.
Evangelist Billy Graham will be in the Capital District by the end of the week. Nightcast reporter Beth McKay has details.
To God be the glory for answered prayer.
The announcement came at the outset of the second crusade meeting. Mr. Graham will be in Albany on Thursday when he'll greet the audience, and then he'll preach Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, much to the delight of many people in the Capital District.
It's just an answer to everyone's prayer, because he'll bring the Spirit even more.
Mr. Graham said that though his doctors have encouraged him to take a prolonged period of rest, he feels that God has called him to come to Albany.
I'm very excited and rejoice, give thanks to the Lord that he is coming. Amen and amen.
Another group outside of the Nick wasn't as excited as those inside. This community of Christians thinks the crusade only scratches the surface.
I don't want to say at all anything particularly bad about Mr. Graham. I don't have, a bad thing to say about him. I think that the gospel that Jesus preaches, though, requires more than just a walk down an aisle and a commitment to moral living.
His children rejoice, for he is Lord of creation.
But throughout the night, vocalists sang and Dr. Ralph Bell preached about the commitment involved. And since this was youth night, many teens were there to hear the message and respond.
It helps me to resist peer pressure, lots of peer pressure. You know, like kids like say, hey, smoke a cigarette or something. I mean, that seems like no big deal, but it really isn't.
If a person dies, I mean, they should go to a good place, not like a very bad place like hell.
About 7,100 came out for this crusade meeting, and now with Mr. Graham coming, many more are expected for the remainder of the week. And again, Mr. Graham will be in Albany starting Thursday night when he'll give a greeting to the audience. Then on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, he'll preach. The crusade meetings start at 7:30 p.m. all nights except on Sunday when it begins at 6 o'clock.
Well, Beth, I imagine the crusade officials expect a packed house when Billy's there.
Oh, they really do, because especially looking at the crowds for the last 2 days with Dr. Bell speaking, they really are expecting big crowds, and they have prepared for it. They have overflow rooms with monitors, so anyone that comes down will hear and see Billy Graham.
All right. Thank you very much, Beth.
Well, President Bush called the opening day of the Economic Summit in Houston a day of very good discussions. This despite the fact the 8 world leaders already disagree on economic aid to the Soviet Union.
This is the first time President Bush is hosting an international summit of allies. After greeting each one personally, the president joined the others walking together into the courtyard at Rice University. They were shoulder to shoulder, no one a step ahead or behind the others. Bush then invited his guests to make decisions at the summit that will enhance world security by making the world's economy more stable.
A new world of freedom lays before us, hopeful, confident, a world where peace endures, where commerce has conscience, and where all that seems possible is possible.
In the formal discussions that followed, the issue of the Soviet Union came up quickly. Hugh Johnson of First Albany Corp. says that's a key to all parties concerned.
The idea is, first of all, to solidify the government of Gorbachev in the Soviet Union, number one, to allow them to westernize to a greater extent and to start products or buying products from the West. So there is a trade-off.
Johnson says the timetable for that aid is the sticking point. And in fact, Bush had a private meeting today with the 2 leaders with whom he disagrees. Bush wants a longer term of advice and assistance for the Soviets. But West German Chancellor Kohl and French President Mitterrand stand ready to deliver the kind of cash credits Gorbachev says are critical to rescuing his economy.
Now, President Bush is taking an aggressive approach at these meetings. He reportedly believes a jump start from this summit is needed to keep international trade negotiations from dying. In Louisiana, Governor Buddy Roemer is questioning an anti-abortion bill passed hurriedly by his state's legislature. The measure passed last night allows abortion only in cases of rape or incest or when the mother's health is at stake. Roemer calls this a step in the right direction, but is leaving open the possibility he might veto this measure as he did an earlier one.
Now's the time to be calm and take a long look. Step in the right direction, but is it a high enough step? Is it a constitutional step? Is it something that I could sign? I'm not sure yet.
Roemer has 20 days to take action on the bill.
State health officials say paint can contain hidden health hazards, so they've issued a summer paint hazard warning. Painters can be exposed to dangerous levels of mercury or lead without realizing it. Lead has been banned from paints nationwide for years, and mercury is banned from paints in New York, but you still might find yourself in contact with them. So New York State health officials recommend good ventilation if you're renovating an old home or using paint made out of state.
If they want on
mercury.
the interior, they could wear a disposable mask, something along those lines. On the exterior with the air and everything, and as long as you're not doing it on a breezy day, really not too much is required unless you're really close to the paint.
In the past 8 years, New York has identified nearly 200 cases of lead poisoning among people renovating old homes that used lead paint.
A hospital mix-up results in a mother being told her baby had died twice, and the second time it was the truth. That from our New York News Network. Juanita Ayala had been told on July 1st by officials at the Westchester County Medical Center that her baby had died. But a doctor who saw the child's obituary in the paper 2 days later notified the woman that her baby did not die and was still alive. And then an official at the hospital said the baby did die this afternoon of heart failure. The hospital says the mistake occurred because of a communications foul-up.
Schenectady police are busy investigating an early morning bank robbery. A man entered the Albany Street branch of the First National Bank of Scotia shortly before 10 this morning. Police say he handed the teller a note saying he had a handgun and instructed the teller to put money in an envelope. He fled on foot with about $2,000. Now, police are looking for a white male, 5 foot 8 inches tall, 25 to 30 years old, weighing around 150 pounds, with a slight build, brown hair, and a mustache. Meantime, a man who was wrongly accused of 3 area bank holdups was finally set free today. 44-year-old Michael Plath of Sheridan Avenue in Albany was released in Albany County Court after spending 15 days in jail. Plath had been identified from a lineup by 3 bank tellers, although police now say he did not pull the jobs.
All throughout the entire thing, I said, geez, I'm innocent. I'm not really going to be afraid of this. I'll go through it. I'll live through it. It's an experience I haven't had being in jail, so what the hell? Let's do that and see what goes on. And I did a lot of praying in jail. I became a very good Christian again, or at least tried to be.
Police have charged James Keyes of Albany with 2 of the bank heists for which Plath had once been charged.
Well, still to come on Nightcast, a space shuttle commander is in trouble with NASA following a deadly plane accident.
And Donald Trump signs a big tenant but loses out on something else. That and more coming up.
NASA is grounding 2 veteran space shuttle astronauts. Officials say Robert Hoot Gibson has been grounded for 1 year for his part in a fatal stunt plane collision over the weekend. Gibson was not hurt, but the pilot of the other plane was killed in the Texas air show. The space agency has also suspended Captain David Walker due to violations of agency guidelines.
Meanwhile, NASA is finally closing in on the hydrogen leak that's grounded the shuttle fleet. That tops off tonight's newsreel. Engineers of the space agency have detected a pinhole-sized leak in fuel lines, but haven't determined its exact location.